Hey everyone, welcome to Grim Dark Lunch. As you might have noticed, this is not John, this is Brett. And Brett has some opinions and some expertise actually on Narrative 40K.
Not about, yeah, I don't have opinions on all things, but Narrative 40K I do.
Okay, and the strong opinions.
Excited to espouse them at you today, and maybe they're terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe they're great. We'll find out.
Well, that's what's great about a show like this is that we can just talk at them and they can't do anything about it. So, well, I guess one thing you can do is you can like this. If you like Brett, like the stream. And if you don't like Brett, like the stream anyway. And if you want to ask us any questions, if you want to tell us your opinions, which, look, we're not going to listen to them because Brett's here and he probably knows better anyway. But you can chat us.
Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
We're sure you have opinions as well.
Yeah, you can tell us your wrong opinions. What'd you get up to this weekend, Brett? Play any games?
Did some gaming. Yep. Played a game of Malifaux.
Oh, cool.
Been getting into that slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just otherwise had kind of a chill hangout.
Cool.
Weather was nice.
Nice.
Got up to some grilling.
Okay. Anything noteworthy?
Meats, vegetables.
Okay.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
A little bit of everything.
Made like 14 desserts as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't play any games this weekend. I did some. Did I even paint? I stripped some models.
That's kind
like
of negative painting.
Yeah, that's like taking away painting. Cool. So we're gonna get started. So just so everyone knows the overview for today, this is just a quick look at what we're gonna talk about. We're going to talk about why is match play king. We're going to talk about events, both matched play and maybe why match play has dominance and what we think narrative events should be. Crusade and our problems with it, and tips for running your own events.
Because we'd ultimately like to see narrative have sort of a more prominent place in the 40K community. So,
yeah, exactly.
If you've ever thought about it and it felt intimidating or just weren't quite sure where to get started, stick around. We'll give you some tips.
Cool. But before we do that, we have to do our due diligence, and we have to do some science.
Yeah.
So it's time for...
This is a science show, after all.
The list. All right. Brett, you are familiar with the list.
Yes, I am. I'm a huge fan of the list. I vote in the list.
Okay.
And I've been keeping track of it, so I'm up to date on kind of the state of the list.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You say you vote in the list. That's good to hear. But science is not democratic. I'm sorry to say. All right, but you are here to voice your opinion, which again,
my scientific opinion.
Scientific opinion.
Yeah. You get an honorary degree when you walk into this.
Yeah,
studio.
That's right. Yeah, we won't let you in unless you
have a science degree.
Science degree.
Kind? Yeah.
A degree in science.
A degree in science. Yeah.
All right. So our first model for today, Tzeentch, Screamers of Tzeentch.
Yeah. No sleeves.
No sleeves. Yeah.
And but still like lots of eyes.
Eyes are strong.
And lots of spikes.
Yes. They can fly, which is pretty cool.
Which is pretty rad. Yeah.
Flying's cool. Flying stands are not cool. Scientifically speaking, I'm going to say those are very, very not cool, actually.
Man.
However, I don't know. Actually, I really like these models. I feel like they no matter what scheme you do, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they are. There's a ton of opportunity for really fun hobbying on these guys. You can do some cool patterns. You can do them sort of more natural as like flesh or scales. Or you can just like go crazy and make them, like synthwave, like stripes and checker patterns and
you can really
you can do galaxy effects on them.
Like, they work pretty much no matter what scheme you're doing, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's good. They do have some negatives against them mostly being flying stands and lack of muscles, but cool painting schemes. That's pretty cool and very narrative. Chat, where do you think they belong on our list? So far, we are 1 through 15. Where do Screamers of Tzeentch belong? All right, next up.
Yeah. Think about it.
Think about it.
Second model.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
We had Brett on, so I figured.
It's a Tau model.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you picked a Tau model that canonically doesn't exist in my headcanon. Okay, this is a Storm Surge. I know this is a bit of a hot take. The Storm Surge is meant as like a artillery piece. And
Yeah.
They plunk it down, it puts down these anchors, and then it shoots at things from really far away. But it's got a bazillion missiles. It's got a giant shoulder cannon. It's got thighs for days.
Oh yeah, big honking thighs. Big fan.
It's a pretty rad model, yeah. And I almost feel like with the inclusion of this model in the list, we need to add a second metric. So the sleeve muscle index has gotten us pretty far.
Yes.
But I feel like we need to add the weapon body index, the WBI, to go along with the SMI.
Yeah, that's some new science.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a new field.
But it checks out.
It checks out. We've done the research.
And the weapon body index is effectively the ratio of the size of the weapon on the model to the size of the rest of the body of the model. And so the Storm Surge, clearly excels on this index. Its gun is bigger than its body.
Yeah.
So I think this is pretty cool on the it stands out on the WBI.
WBI index is high. Because not just the big cannon on his shoulders. He's also got these big missile things.
Missile things. Also weapons.
Missile things are good.
If you removed all the weapons from this model, there wouldn't be much left.
It would just be legs, actually.
It would just be legs. The skinny little torso thing. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Chat, where does it belong on the list? Remember, we have 15, so we're going up to 18 today.
Yeah.
Where does it belong, chat? Where does it belong? Let us know in the chat.
Let us know what you think about the Storm Surge.
Yeah. So we got Storm Surge, we've got Tzeentch, Screamers of Tzeentch, and then finally, for today, we've got the Leman Russ Battle Tank.
Wow.
Now, this is all Leman Russes, which maybe isn't fair because some are much cooler than others.
Right.
But look, that's just the way that science works.
This is the Demolisher.
Yeah.
And, Demolisher is arguably one of the cooler Leman Russ variants.
Yeah. Little stubby gun.
Little stubby gun. So maybe its gun size is a little bit lacking. But if we are talking about all Leman Russes, what's the one with the giant, like the battle cannon? Is it Vindicator battle cannon?
I think so. There's one. Yeah.
That's like one shot. It's like the Hammerhead Railgun. One shot, and it's meant for tank killing. That one is giant.
Chicken says 19. That's not even on. We're only going up to 18 today.
Wow.
Jeez. Chicken doesn't like the Leman Russ.
Or this might also be a comment on the Storm Surge.
No.
given the stream delay.
Oh, right.
But yeah, the Leman Russ is a cool model. It's been around for a long time.
Yes.
But there are lots of variants. There's lots of guns on it. It's got this main turret and multiple sponson options. It's pretty iconic.
It is. It's iconic, but what does that mean on the list though?
And I feel like with the addition of the Rogel Dorn,
ooh yeah,
the Leman Russ is like it used to be pretty dope, and now it's like not quite as cool because there's like a slightly bigger, better in every way version of the Leman Russ.
Yeah,
that's got a newer kit. It's easier to put together.
I mean, even the Primarch name is cooler. It's a bad day to be a Leman Russ.
That's a hot take.
All right, chat. You can quickly tell us what you think. Again, it's not going to matter because science is science and doesn't really care. But we still care about your feelings.
We're interested in what you think.
Where do you feel like these guys belong? I feel like these are pretty cool.
I think these are pretty cool. I put these in the I don't know, like.
What range are we thinking?
6, 7, 8
6,
range?
7. Yeah. You think these are cooler than Adelan Rough Riders?
Yeah.
Really?
I weirdly don't like Adelan Rough Riders.
Yeah, well, they're our number 10.
I actually like the old models for the Rough Riders more than the new ones.
The Deathcore?
Yeah.
Krieg ones?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know why I switched that view. I feel like
I put these guys ahead of Rough Riders. Probably, maybe the new 10.
New 10?
Yeah.
I could see it.
That would be.
I could see it.
That would be my scientific, not vote, not opinion.
Okay.
Actually, data point.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that scientific data point. All right, let's see if I can spell Tzeentch right. I misspelled it in the tutorial video. Tzeentch.
TCH. Yeah,
There we go.
I think we did it.
I forgot the though. Reimers of Zinch.
Cool.
Cool. That's our new number 10. Top 10 models of all time.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Not quite as high as they could be, given the flying stands.
Yeah.
But pretty cool.
Yeah, they would have been maybe a number.
Yeah.
A number 9. All right. Next
Storm
up,
Surge?
Storm Surge. Chicken was talking about the Storm Surge. He said the Storm Surge should not even be on the list.
Not even
That's
be
how
on the
bad it
list.
is.
He so I happen to know Chicken's opinions on the Storm Surge align with my own. I don't think he quite goes as far as I do, denying they exist in his headcanon, but it's a cool looking model, but the lore, if you're like a classic Tau lore guy,
Yeah.
the GW sort of made some massive changes to the Tau lore when they introduced the Riptide, the Storm Surge, and then the Taunar, and they kind of don't fit in with the OG Tau lore.
Okay.
So I think that's the origin of his voting preference. But I think the model's dope. And if you ignore the lore, which this
is a narrative stream. I don't know if we should.
Narrative stream, but like we're not asking about the lore. We're just asking how cool is the model.
That's true. I feel like a good point of science, though. If you look in the chat, Zach says, "I love the Storm Surge."
Yeah, Zach is not here right now.
Yes.
In the show, and so his opinions basically don't matter.
But I think it's an important data point because he loves the Storm Surge, which means it's a bad model.
Which means it's a bad model.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
because he loves all sorts of other bad models.
He loves all the bad models.
Like Zach loves Desolation Marines.
What is up with that?
Zach loves ATVs. My gosh.
This is bad.
All right.
This is bad news for Storm Surge fans.
Okay, so Zach loves the Storm Surge. I think we should go with Chicken. I think we should.
It's our new number last.
New number last. All right, Zach, you shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah. Storm Surge.
It excels on the weapon body index, but its place on the sleeve muscle index is pretty.
Yeah, you got to find the right
bad.
balance of sleeves.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's rocking the legs, and I can appreciate that. That's why he's our top 20 models of all time.
But the pants have sleeves? They don't.
That's a good point. What? Yeah, you're right. That's science.
This guy skipped arm day in a big way.
Which is not something you should do.
Yeah.
All right. Last model for today. For the list. Lehman Russ Battle Tank. I don't know. I think it's an okay model.
Yeah.
I think it's worse in every way than every other tank, though. I'm sorry, except for Primaris tanks.
Oh.
But there's no Primaris tanks on the list.
There's no Primaris, yeah. What do you think? Somewhere in the 13, 14, 15 range?
I mean, I feel like we have to ask, is it cooler than a Storm Raven?
I think it's cooler than... I like Intercessors better than I like this model.
Well, that's...
All right, so
that's our new...
14 and a half. It's
there we go.
15?
That's our new 15.
All right, cool.
Lehman Russ Battle Tank, not the Primarch.
Oh,
All right.
Barry has an interesting comment in chat. His thought on the Storm Surge is that he's wearing really baggy cargo shorts.
Ooh.
And he did in fact skip leg day.
That's terrible. You shouldn't. Oh.
Yeah.
Now he's a liar too.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right. There's your new list, people.
More justification.
We have a new number 10, a new top 10. That's exciting news.
Yeah. We made progress.
We have to publish our findings.
Science has been advanced.
Yep. We've done it, people. All right. Let's
moving on.
Quickly moving on. We've
got a packed schedule today.
Yeah, we have a very packed schedule. So we're gonna do our quick Warcom hit. We're probably not even gonna really. We're just gonna say, oh, that's cool. Mostly, if I can find it, that is. Hold on, people. Where is it? It's on here somewhere.
Warcom
browser. No. Okay.
Warcom was good today.
Warcom was good.
Especially for a show that is concerned about model coolness.
Yes.
If and when these guys ever get tested for science, they're going to be pretty high up there.
Pretty high.
These models are amazing.
Look, they're so good I am almost willing to overlook the terrible flight stands.
The fact that they have flying stands.
Yeah, which is just not good.
Wait, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have any of your models ever flown? You mean you have Custodes jet bikes?
Yes.
How do you
I paint
reconcile
them.
that?
I only look at them from one angle.
I see.
Where I can't see
the flying stand is
it.
hidden.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I also paint mine black, So they're like
The flying stands.
Yeah,
are
they
black.
kind of fade.
Okay, wow. All
into
right. I bet Zach has opinions on that too.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Let me a little. I'm gonna inject a tip.
Yeah.
You do like a little metal rod, so it can be even skinnier
Yeah.
and black.
Yeah.
And then
even
that's good.
modeling tips.
And then they don't break as much either.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well. I've been lucky so far, but I'm not counting on that lasting.
Those models are amazing. I love those little guys. I think they make great like human auxiliary crisis suits.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're interested in a Tau army with human auxiliaries.
Yeah. We're also gonna do a quick.
These are for Necromunda, by the way.
These are for Necromunda, which is kind of it's sci-fi.
The Van
So
Sar gang.
we were gonna talk about the new models, the new Space Marine models. All we really have to say is they're all pretty cool.
They're all pretty cool. They're cool.
And as much as I've been hating,
except for one of them, which is really cool.
which is
The guy with the double flamer.
oh, double flamer guy.
Double flamer guy.
Super
is
cool.
So rad. Like flamers are already the coolest weapon in 40K, but then you strap two of them together side by side.
Yeah. This guy.
It's just amazing.
Get out of here. We're not going to talk to you. We don't want to talk to. Hey, there's Darren Latham. We want to. Wait, no, this is the wrong article. Oh my gosh.
It's
We're talking about this guy.
Sturmguard.
Yeah. New Codex. Pretty cool. I dig it.
There's a new command squad that they call something Company of Hero guy. There's some Primaris jump pack guys who are all tiptoeing off of tall rocks. There's some multi-build Terminators that you can build in a couple different poses. And then there's the Sternguard.
Yeah, so just a quick hit on this. As much as we've talked about how we don't like flight stands, I think these poses are terrible.
These are even worse.
This is worse, actually.
There's no reason why they can't just be running on the ground.
Yeah, so I'm going to put all of mine on the ground.
If and when these get up for scientific review, they're gonna get tanked.
Yeah.
Hit hard.
Look, not good sleeve index, not good gun index.
Right.
And they're jumping like...
They're tiptoeing off of rocks.
Yeah, now this guy, though.
Look at that double flamer. Look
guy.
at that double flamer, chat. Wow.
Oh, boy.
He's all he needs to like just completely be top of the list is some sleeves showing.
Yeah, and maybe a helmet, because we like helmets.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about that on the Primaris Intercessors?
Yeah.
Half of the models shown, rounded down, are not wearing helmets.
What's up with that?
They're gonna have so many bugs in their teeth.
Oops.
Actually, rounded up even. My goodness. They're gonna have so many bugs in their teeth. They're gonna have dragonflies in their eyes. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. This is poor decision making on these Space Marines parts, and they need to have a talking to.
Of anyone, I mean, we've talked about how models who are going to war should wear their helmets.
Yes.
Right? But like, especially if you're flying, you're gonna get deaf. You're not gonna be able to hear anything because there's a giant jetpack right next to your ears. You're gonna get bugs in your teeth, and
just bad decisions all around.
If there's any shrapnel like that, you're gonna hit more shrapnel because you're going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. What are you doing,
guys? I don't agree with this.
I don't agree. Yeah. All right, let's knock out we got some chats going here. Barry Hercules says something, but I have to scroll back up because I can't read it in this little window. Where is it? Barry Hercules says. Great topic, but we really want to know Brett's opinions on minis with vests versus sleeves. Well, you got some of that.
We've been talking about that a little bit. Yeah, sleeves are good. Having arms is a prerequisite to having sleeves, typically, which is why the Storm Surge didn't do great on our scientific evaluation today. But
hey, chat, we're getting an error. Are we still streaming smoothly? Let us know. We're getting an error on our end. I guess Zach would let us know if it wasn't. But yeah, let us know. Molecule Cody says, can Storm Surges just be last? Well, they are right now.
Yeah.
And probably will be for the foreseeable future.
But we want to leave it open for another model that's even worse.
Yes.
To take that place. Because what would you do then if there was a worse model than the Storm Surge?
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any. But
yeah.
And thank you, Zell Nasty, for the gift of membership. Got David T.
Congratulations, David.
David T, come to the Discord and you can hang out with us. Stream is fine. Okay. Zach says the stream is fine. I don't know if we should trust his opinion.
His opinion on our opinions is also wrong.
Yeah.
So, wow. There we go.
Stay wrong. All right, today's
Moving
main
on.
topic. Today's main topic. We're gonna move it along. We are already a little bit behind. And again, if you don't know the topic, narrative. Brett's specialty.
If we, yeah, I know I've spent a little bit of time thinking about narrative play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the president of our local narrative club,
That's right.
of which you are
I
a
am
member.
part of.
And so yeah, we do a lot of narrative gaming, and let's get into it. I've been to a lot of narrative events. I almost exclusively play narrative. So yeah.
So we're gonna talk about first, just kind of setting the scene. Competitive is the default right now.
Yeah.
And we don't mean that people, exclusively bring meta lists.
Right.
But we talk about when you go to your local game store, matched play is the expected, it's the default, right?
If you don't sort of prearrange something other than matched play, this is what you can expect to be playing, is a matched play game, a competitive game.
Yeah. And so the reasons we talked about is that, well, the main thing is it's more balanced and there's more support for it.
Right. So Games Workshop has actually made an effort to balance the game from a competitive standpoint.
Yes. And so when you see data slates, when you see points updates, like obviously they affect narrative play, but...
Well, they do now.
Yeah.
But they didn't used to.
Yeah.
Which is the hilarious thing. In 9th edition, when power level was how you played Crusade, none of that... I mean, I guess they would do every once in a while a power level update.
Yeah.
But that was few and far between.
Yeah. And
so that's a new thing. The fact that narrative play is now... Crusade is now played using points. That's new.
And then you look at things like Legends, where it's like, okay, well, we're just cutting units out completely for the sake of balance. It just feels like competitive matched play is what GW's focus is.
Right. And it's also sort of easiest to talk about and think about, and people, we're all kind of gamers, and so we not derogatory, but just like we're all like we're used to playing games, and so the idea that a game has a winner is something we're familiar with.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this is not a dig on competitive players or anything.
Right.
We're just talking about why it's the default.
Why it's the default. Why you might not have heard of the concept of narrative play before. Yeah.
And we also, we talked about how, if you go to your store and you don't really want to be social, that you could just match play as everything's already set out for you.
Yeah.
There's no discussion about, hey, can I use these Legends models? Hey, do you maybe want to use a different mission? Stuff like that. That's just like...
It's a convenient way to just get in a pickup game without having to have 23 different pre-conversations.
Yeah.
So it's sort of easier too, if that makes sense.
And someone actually mentioned it. Narrative play means different things to different people. That's something we're going to talk about soon.
We'll get there.
Playing to win versus telling a story. So you said it already. We're gamers.
Yeah.
Non-derogatory, as you said.
It's interesting. Like, some people get into this hobby because it's a game and they enjoy playing the game.
Yeah.
And the painting of the models is maybe secondary. Other people are hobbyists first, and the game is just a thing to do with their models once they've painted them. And it's a spectrum, so you might exist somewhere in between those two extremes. But yeah, like, the idea that Warhammer is an intellectual property, there's a whole bunch of lore. And actually, weirdly, the sort of a volume of lore that exists is actually a barrier to entry for some people. But there's so much you can read about the backstory between all of these that establishes the world. And then we're just like playing a game that tells a story of one battle that takes place in this universe.
Yeah. And it's like, there's a triangle, right, of how people get into the hobby. It's like models, lore, game, right? And so some people just don't even bother with the lore, and so like, what's the appeal of narrative if that's not what's got you into it?
Right. But if the lore is what excites you, then gaming can be a way to engage in shared storytelling with your friends.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I mean. So, just telling a story, and so like, it's not like this is an impossible thing, right? We were talking about Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
That is something that, there are game mechanics, but I don't think most people, you're doing a role, you're playing a role, right?
Right.
And so like, there's room in tabletop gaming for focus on
for that kind of play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And then quickly, I'm gonna catch up on chat in a second, but let's hit our last bullet point. Competitive players are louder, and again, this is not a diss.
Yeah.
This is not we're not digging on competitive players, but competitive players, they are a smaller portion of the audience, but they are a loud portion of the audience.
Yeah, and if you log into any Discord for any sort of popular Warhammer community, it's going to be mostly dominated by people talking about, balance. Oh, I played this game. This unit killed my unit. How can I play the game better? And there's a much sort of smaller, quieter, more chill community that is interested in talking about lore interplay.
Yeah.
But it does exist. You just have to dig a little bit to find it.
And we've talked about this on other shows, is that as someone who focuses on narrative, I think competitive players are actually probably good for the game, because people who are advocating for balance, advocating for,
narrative
keeping the game
want
fresh with point. Because exactly. Narrative players still want balance.
Right.
It's just your focus is a little different. We still want the same things. We just want a different endpoint.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna.
Well, that was a good intro.
Yeah. So that's. I'm gonna read some of these chats real quick. Yeah, exactly. Barry Hercules points out. The roots of Warhammer was RPG.
Yep.
Right, and now you see this switch to an easier, let's just go and play set of rules where there's no real bending of it. Everyone knows what we're doing. Almost like board gaming, right? It's like a set of
For the longest time, GW pushed back on this idea that they even needed to release balance updates. They're like, just play the game the way you want. Don't let us get in your way of sort of balancing the game for yourself. And they wanted you to play it as this beer and pretzels, very informal thing. And then they over the years of sort of competitive gamers saying, hey, no, you need to be on top of this a little more. They've come around to the idea that they'll issue these regular balance updates. But this is all a very new thing. Yeah.
And again, it benefits narrative players, right? This thing that was, I would say, advocated by competitive players.
Right.
It wasn't narrative players saying, like, this game is broken, fix Drukhari in 8th edition.
Yeah.
Or 9th edition. Excuse me. I'm going to end the poll real quick. Where are we at? Yeah.
I think this is comedic.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Chat. Don't bring 30 Desolators.
Do not. This is meant as a joke. Yeah. Do not do this.
Don't do that. Well, everything's nerfed now anyway. See, it benefits narrative players that they nerfed.
There we go.
They nerfed those. Do we want to do our quick? We have I guess it's a promo.
Sure.
Not a paid promo, but a promo. So if you guys know Chris from the Discord, he's one of our.
Chris likes to paint.
Chris likes to paint. I don't want to say he's just a fan. I want to say one of our fans. No, he's a very established painter and businessman.
And an active member of the Discord. Yeah.
An active member of the Discord. He is running a Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Again, this is not
super cool.
We're not paid for this. So I came into the studio today, and Zach was like, "Oh, hey, so we kind of want to promo this thing." I was like, "Oh yeah, I backed that already." So it's something we want to shout out to Chris and his Kickstarter.
Yeah, he's put a ton of work into this. It's similar to, but importantly different from, your standard neoprene objective markers, in that it's clear, it's a matte finish, it's not glossy, and it doesn't get in the way of your terrain. So the fact that we're talking about this on our narrative show today is actually kind of apropos, because a lot of times these neoprene objective markers just completely ruin the immersion for whatever cool terrain board you've set up, and these do not. It's I love this idea, and this has existed in the AOS community before, but is just kind of now making its way to 40K.
Yeah, so we have a link to his Kickstarter in the video description. So if you guys want to support one of
go check him out.
Yeah, go check him out. Yeah. Here's an example of him.
Yeah,
you see my face.
It's neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point that we're talking about is we're going to talk about theming boards later, and this is great for that, because it's non-obtrusive, and it looks great, and it's really cool.
It sort of is a great blend of the practicalities of quality of life of having something that defines the 6-inch circle, but but not being a giant weird face that
Yeah.
like, has a bunch of text
Or,
on it
yeah.
that's a weird color.
Your board doesn't look like a NASCAR
Yeah,
car,
right.
you know.
An advertisement for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, go check that out. Let's hit this. Let's hit this super chat. Oh, thank you, Liberty Fires. Very generous.
Thank you, Liberty
Thank
Fires.
you. Oh, where'd it go? Do y'all find there's a difference between narrative and crusade? We're gonna talk about that soon. Getting into the hobby, people told me crusade was more casual, but I found it was not the case. More rules, broken unit combos, and unfair mission objectives. That's exactly what we're going to talk about momentarily.
That's a great segue, Liberty Fires.
In fact, maybe we'll go straight to that. So yeah, we'll come back to events.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Crusade.
Sure. Man, Crusade is if you never played it before, it's a format that's in the main rulebook. It sort of, in theory, the way GW's described it, it's meant to be. They sort of bill it as this, like Liberty Fires is saying, like a casual, story-driven way to get into the game.
Yeah.
With friends. It's not meant to be competitive. But my gosh, it feels if that's what they're going for, it sure feels like they missed the mark. It involves sort of a secondary whole other series of rules on top of the base rules, so it's very hard to kind of wrap your head around. There's a lot more. The learning curve is sort of steeper, and because you can sort of every unit in your army can level up, there's a whole secondary series of buffs that you can layer on top of all of the native buffs that come with your army rule, your datasheet rules, your stratagems. Oh, and now here's these crusade upgrades you can get.
And Crusade relics too. There's no limit to how many things you can do.
In Crusade, and so it feels like, weirdly, for something that's billed as a story-driven, easy-going way to get into the game, it feels like it's perfect for power gaming. Yeah, weirdly enough, right? If you are the kind of person who is inclined to want to min-max, this just gives you a whole nother set of rules to min-max. Yeah, exactly. So we talk about I'm not going to say there's no rails, but it is very easy to power game. Yeah. It's not nearly balanced, and it's like the attention, as we mentioned, is not on Crusade, on balance in Crusade. Yeah, and we talked about homework. So one of the other things, especially if you go to a Crusade event where there's sort of multiple games in a day, and you need to sort of keep track of how many kills each of your units gotten, and then in between rounds, if anybody's leveled up, you need to be rolling on charts to see what upgrades they're getting and making note of those. And sometimes when things upgrade, then you have to keep track of a secondary points system called Crusade points, and then you have to compare your Crusade points at the start of the game with your opponent's Crusade points. And it's very homework intensive. And if you don't do that homework, if you go to an event, a Crusade event, and you just are like, I don't have time for this homework, I don't want to deal with it, whatever. Or maybe you want to eat lunch instead of doing all this bookkeeping. Then all of a sudden you go into your next game and your opponent's got like 14 unit upgrades and you don't have any of that stuff, and you're just like, wow, I just feel... Yeah, you're only hurting yourself, right? Yeah. And, we should mention that they do have a catch-up mechanic for stuff, for this kind of stuff, but it just feels kind of half-baked. It doesn't do the trick. No, it doesn't equal the... It doesn't close the gap. Right. So it's interesting. Crusade is like a cool idea. I don't love the way it's implemented. Yeah. So for narrative play, to your point, Liberty Fires, I feel like Crusade is a way you can do narrative play, but I don't think it's the best way. And so we'll get in a little bit to what our recommendation is. If you're interested in playing a narrative game or running a narrative event, either small or large in your area, what our thoughts are on that. Yeah. If you guys have thoughts, let us know. You don't have to super chat if you don't want to, but let us know in chat, and we would appreciate any support. But yeah, should we talk about events now, or do you want to do anything else about Crusade? I think Crusade is good on limited runs. If you do like a 2-3 round Crusade, that can be cool. But if you're doing if your plan is to do like a multi-month crusade and just run a crusade force and then try to pair your crusade force against your... If it's like focused and it's between you and a small group, I think it can work. But sort of, unless you have that extra layer of structure around it, and potentially even introducing some house rules. If you discover broken combos, you just say, we're not going to play with these, or that kind of thing. but sort of on its own without that kind of extra layer of structure, it doesn't really work super well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about events. So this is kind of bringing back. We were talking about GW and focus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are events. There are narrative events, and maybe you can talk about some of these because I've not been to one of these big. Well, I have been to one of these big events, but not all of these big events.
So I think one of the reasons that narrative play is not as popular amongst the community generally is because there aren't as many narrative events.
Yeah.
There's RTTs and GTs all over the country all year round. Every weekend, you can see some kind of big event live streamed from somewhere in the world that is competitive, but that just kind of doesn't exist for narrative play, which is weird because I interestingly think watching narrative play games like sort of play out, especially if there's an interesting story being told, would actually be really cool. It'd basically be like live television, but like choose your own adventure. You don't know how it's going to turn out, and like that's kind of rad. So there are 4 big ones. Chronologically speaking, Las Vegas Open has a narrative event. Our local game club here in the Bay Area runs an event called Maelstrom Mixer, which you might not have heard of. We've only ran it twice. This in 2024 will be our 3rd time. It's just a narrative event. It's not a narrative event that is part of another event.
Pure narrative.
Which is kind of unique. And then on the East Coast, Nova has a really good narrative event. And then Games Workshop just last year started running another sort of dedicated narrative event called the Grand Narrative. And the first one was in Albuquerque. This year it's going to be in Atlanta. And this is another cool thing that they're doing where it's like they're sort of pulling out all the stops. In theory, the events that take place at the Grand Narrative sort of shape the progression of official Games Workshop lore. I'm not sure to the extent which that has actually manifested, but I think mostly what they're going to do is introduce some characters in the Grand Narrative that then sort of see action in some of the future codex releases, etc. But yeah, those are kind of the 4 big narrative events in the U.S. I'm super curious for our European or Australian members, viewers, if you guys have any big narrative events in your
in your side of your part of the world.
Yeah, because it's not as common. It's not as there's not as many of them.
Yeah. Yes, it looks like some people in the chat agreeing with us that it's just to bring it back to Crusade, talking about how it incentivizes power gaming.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You want some kind of it's a hard problem because you want some kind of level up mechanic. You want to feel like your guys are sort of getting better, and this is like very RPG-esque. Your guys need to, in order for it to feel like an RPG, some sort of progression. But you don't want it to get out of control.
And this is stuff we'll talk about. Youngbo, haven't seen you in chat before, but says hot take. But the in between bookkeeping of Crusade is actually very easy. There's tons of free resources out there. I would say if you're having to look at other resources, that's probably not great. But
he's talking about an app.
Oh, is there?
There's an app called, I think it's called Administratum.
Okay.
Put out by, I think it is Goonhammer. That is basically a way to sort of keep track of your Crusade upgrades. It's not perfect. There are some, like if you want to undo things, for example, you like click things and then like 5 minutes later, it's not quite your next game. You still certainly can change it. Like going back and undoing things, you can't.
Is it a pain?
You can't. You have to delete the thing, and you have to end your crusade, and you have to start over and read. So there's some like awkward things there, but it helps. I think where I've had the most success with the Crusade bookkeeping is if you have a progression path pre-planned. So okay, as soon as this unit gets their level up, I'm going to buy them this upgrade. As soon as this unit gets its level up, I'm going to buy them this upgrade. And so you sort of have, it's like a tech tree in a video game. You've got you've already predetermined because you've studied the tech tree in advance how you're going to progress with each of your units. And if you have that all figured out, then it's fine. You can just, this unit leveled up. I look on my I've pre-drawn my tech tree for each of my units. All right, they're going to get, this is the next one they're going to get. It's fine. But if you are new to Crusade or new to narrative play or new to the event format,
Yeah.
and you're trying to figure this all out on the fly, it can be very overwhelming.
So yeah, I mean, young Bo, if you have if you're not talking about Administratum, like, let us know. I used Administratum in last edition, 9th edition. It was fine. It was definitely easier than trying to do it all on my own in like spreadsheets. Yeah. But yeah, if you have some good, if you got some hot tips for us for where to find some good resources, we're totally game. Because I mean, I only want to make Crusade easier to play.
Yeah, for sure.
You can throw them if you have anything. Throw it up in the chat, or if you want to join the Discord, you can throw a link in there. That'd be great. Because we want people. We want to make this as easy for people to get into as possible.
Love to see more of it.
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely want to see more. Okay. So he says he's using a Google Doc that Goonhammer made before Administratum. So, okay. So it's probably easy. Cool. It's probably easier to go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Google Doc would be great.
Can you either?
Please send a link.
Send a link to that either in the chat or throw it on the Discord.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can find because I remember using the Administratum app and not the Discord.
Yeah.
Or the Excel sheet.
Cool.
Cool. Back to events though. So
Yeah, I think one of the things that is interesting to me to think about, and especially as someone who has ran a narrative-only event, Maelstrom Mixer, is to think about this is a hypothetical, so currently events, we're used to this idea of like, you play some games, you win the games, you progress through a bracket, and then at the end, somebody who has won all their games sort of wins the event. And you sort of have an award ceremony where you crown the victor of the event, you give them a sword, and then they get bragging rights for all their friends.
Yeah.
Like, that is the event structure for something where there's a winner, something that's competitive.
Yeah.
What is, if you were designing from the ground up an event structure for a narrative event, what would that look like?
Yeah.
Like, how would you incentivize narrative play? How would you incentivize people to, like, do the cool thing where the commissar on one wound, like, charges into the bloodthirster to, like, lead the rest of his Cadian troops into the fray for the Emperor, when objectively, like, according to the game mechanics, like,
that's just the wrong decision.
It's the wrong decision.
Yeah. So,
like, how do you incentivize sort of correct behavior or fun behavior or narrative behavior, however you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
And what do you sort of offer as prizes, and how do you do you even have like an event winner?
Yeah.
Does the person who sort of wins the event be the one that like told the coolest story, or it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, exactly. We feel like even because we're so stuck in this, there has to be a winner.
Yeah.
Even in narrative events, it feels like there's this competitive flavor to winning, right? It's like obviously you'll have like your best painted, maybe best theme, but like you still want to crown someone who played well, and I think that's something you should reward in narrative. Even in narrative play, you should reward playing well, but it kind of is a perverse incentive.
It is.
Right?
It weirdly is. Like if you go to, and so this is where I'll talk about sort of some of the differences between the 4 narrative events that we highlighted. LVO and Nova, they very definitely like you need to report who won the game at the end, and it's sort of it's usually a custom mission. But if you win the game, you sort of do better in the event than if you didn't win the game.
Yeah.
And like your like warlord wants to win.
Yeah.
But if you are incentivized in the way that the event is structured if you are incentivized to win games, then you're also incentivized to bring lists that help you win games.
Exactly, right? And so that's how the ball.
And then it leads to 30 desolation rate.
Yeah, free nerf desolation. Yeah, so
it's interesting to think about, like, how do you incentivize the behavior that you want people to exhibit in the list building phase, and even when you're in the moment in a game trying to make this decision about whether or not to charge with your commissar.
Yeah.
If you're going to get points and do better in the event by not charging your commissar with that bloodthirster, then it's like a really hard choice.
Yeah,
right?
it's you're going to default back to.
Yeah, you need a lot of self-control to charge your commissar.
Well, yeah. Quickly, and so someone had mentioned this earlier about they said narrative means a different thing to different people.
Right.
And that's something we've even noticed in events is there's not really a standard, right?
Yeah, Everyone's still figuring it out. It's the Wild West of narrative play right now.
Yeah. And so when you look at a competitive event, it's pretty standardized.
You know what to expect if you're going to a 4-round GT or a 6-round GT. Like you get it. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
When you pay your $20 or $70 or whatever it is. But for a narrative event, they're all different. Everyone's trying different stuff. Everyone's doing different weird wonky stuff. And you don't really know what you're signing up for until you read the player packet.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the player packet's not released until after you've had to, buy your ticket or reserve your spot. And some people might even show up without having read the player packet.
Yeah.
And this is something we dealt with at Maelstrom Mixer. People showed up expecting sort of a fairly standard 40K experience, and it was very non-standard.
There was
a lot of wonky narrative jank.
Yeah, a lot of fun, but not standardized. There's not a standardized narrative format, even with GW putting out a narrative format.
Yeah, so read the player packet.
Yes,
you have to.
Let's just look at some of these chats. Chicken says, I think Crusade could also benefit from a more involved GM who could divvy out battle honors. Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that you we'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, I agree. Having someone in control would have...
helps a lot.
Helps a lot.
Yeah, but then you need someone who's not playing or has sort of a DM role. They need to they can maybe participate, but in a weird way where they're also playing, but they're pretending not to know certain plot twists or whatever. So it's there's no sort of automated way to do it.
Yeah, Captain Mannerings has an interesting way to incentivize narrative bingo. So doing certain things, that's pretty fun.
I like it.
So we're coming up on the last 12 minutes of the show. So we've talked all this mess about what's wrong with narrative events and why they're the
same. What does a good narrative
event
look like?
So what are some tips?
Let's bring some positivity to the Grimdark launch.
Let's stop just pointing out all the problems and let's So let's talk about, you've run an event. And so we have some tips for running an event or, things you should look out for if you want to put on your own.
Yeah, so I think, I think our advice, if you are interested in organizing either a small or sort of medium-sized or even larger narrative event is a couple fold. So keep it small, especially if you're doing just an event for your local game group. We've tried both months long sort of sprawling campaigns involving people who can come and go and multiple sort of tiers of upgrade systems and different currencies and stuff. And it tends to peter out at some point. Yeah. At some point, people lose interest, schedules conflict. There's a new GW release, and all of a sudden everyone doesn't want to, play this army anymore. They want to, start building and painting the new knight that just came out. Or, whatever it is. Something happens, and it just kind of falls apart. Mm-hmm. And so I think what works best is if you can set aside somewhere between 2 and 4 sessions. Yeah. Honestly, even 1 to 4 sessions. You could do a narrative campaign in a day, 3 games in a day. And it's defined up front how many sessions it's going to be. Yeah. And you have sort of the plot figured out across those sessions. Yeah. So whatever's going to happen, in advance, and the games are all pre-planned, and you're not worried that the decision tree, sort of the choose your own adventure, doesn't have a chance to branch too far. Right? Because then it can make it really complicated. Yeah.
Keeping the scope, having an endpoint helps a lot, especially with narrative events.
So keep it small. Yep. And then I don't know what was the next point that we had. Yeah. Don't railroad. Okay, cool. So this is another really good point. Yeah. What we mean by this is, let's say your narrative campaign involves Tyranids attacking an Imperial sort of outpost, and if you're new to narrative gaming, if you're new to narrative play, you might think this is a really cool scenario. You're like, let's play out this scenario where the Tyranids attack the outpost, and we'll play a game to see if the Imperials are able to hold out against the Tyranid assault. It's actually a terrible idea because then what do you do for your next game? Game 2, either the Tyranids won, in which case the outpost is overrun, or the Tyranids lost and the Imperials are able to sort of hold out. Yeah. And now the outpost
Planet saved.
Planet saved. Yeah. Cool, campaign's over, I guess. the game should, instead of having the game be about will the Tyranids overrun the outpost, the game should say the Tyranids are overrunning the outpost.
Yes.
And here's your goals, Tyranids. Your goal is to like suck all the brain juice out of the HQs and figure out like where their next outpost is. And Imperials, your goals are to like get as many resources off the planet or hold out for as long as possible so you can send a distress call or, you know, evacuate as many civilians as you can or something like that. Like, if the plot for your story requires that the outpost be overrun, then just have the outpost be overrun and have the mission be about something entirely different.
Yes, exactly.
So this is what we mean by don't railroad. So don't like force the Tyranid player into winning and the Imperial player into losing. Instead, like just have this storyline, and then each player can sort of win or lose independent of the storyline.
Yes, and that's our next point: is everyone can win.
Right. This is super interesting. The idea that I could accomplish if we're in a narrative game playing against each other, Saray, and I could accomplish my objectives, and you could accomplish your objectives, and we both could win the game.
Yeah,
it's something that can't happen in competitive play.
Yeah, exactly.
But it can in narrative, because all we're doing is telling a story.
Yes.
And if I accomplish my objective, I get all my dudes off the planet. You accomplish your objectives. You suck all the brain juice out of my HQs and figure out where the next sort of outpost is that you want to attack. Then cool. Like we both get to feel good about having accomplished our objectives and won the game.
Yeah.
Like that's a win-win, which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's one of the big, we think probably one of the biggest takeaways is that we're talking about incentives.
Yeah.
You need to incentivize diverse list building. So because it's not going to be I'm automatically going to win by taking all these objectives necessarily.
Yeah.
You're not fighting over the same thing, so that both people can have
it's not
a path to victory.
Game, yeah. And then scaling back power-ups. So like I think some kind of level up mechanic is fun and exciting and interesting for narrative play, but it should be simplified.
Yes.
And so a simplified version of the Crusade system, and whether you're just modifying the Crusade system for your own uses or coming up with something completely different that is itself simplified, I think either could work, but you just want something that is, maybe one power up you can earn over the course of the campaign. Once you unlock it, you get to benefit from it for a few games. But it's something simple. It's like, hey, here's a free enhancement, or here's a free command point you get to spend, or here's a, one unit gets one upgrade or something like that. Like it doesn't need to be keeping track of experience on every unit.
Yes, exactly. It can be something as simple as, oh, you secured the shields from the last game, so that means for one turn of the next game, your army has a 6 of feel no pain.
Yeah,
something not too powerful, something that's thematic, and you feel like you get something out of it, but not something that's going to completely break the game.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Broken Chef? What else do we have on here?
We have one more set of tips.
Yes. Bullet 3. Nope. Bullet 5.
All right, so continuing on with our tips, lean into the theme and break out the weird stuff. So this is, if your theme is about, let's say Tyranids attacking an Imperial world, use this as an opportunity to cite your gaming group about building some custom terrain, or hey, like somebody has a Harridan. Let's say somebody in your gaming group has like the giant Tyranid flying, monstrous creature. Yeah. Like, write a custom scenario for them to be able to, people never get to use that stuff because competitively it's bad or it's legends and competitive events don't allow legends yet. Like, break out all the stuff that you don't get to play with that you bought because it looked cool, and now, give yourself a reason to play with this stuff, and then maybe, also lean into, some custom terrain or design a scenario that uses some weird piece of terrain that you made one time.
Yeah, exactly.
This is an opportunity to do that.
That's the real advantage that narrative play has over competitive, is that it's not as focused. I know that sounds like a bad thing, but there's I want to be able to bring a Warlord Titan. You know, not that I have one, but you know what I'm saying. Being able to break one of those out for a game is just not something that's going to happen at a competitive event.
Barry says we should do a custom mission where if you rescue the Storm Surge, that I have to admit it exists for the next round.
Narratively, that I guess we could mess with the lore and make it fit. I guess.
Yeah. All right. I'm in. All right, and then there's one more bullet point.
One more bullet point, and we're coming up on the last 5 minutes here. Sorry. Whenever we hit clean, it resets the... There we go.
Incentivize narrative interaction. Yeah, so this is it, right? Like, how do you design your gameplay and your mission structure to incentivize that one wound commissar to charge into the bloodthirster? And it's hard. The way we did it at Maelstrom Mixer was we had a category of awards called Most Epic Moment and Most Tragic Moment. And the idea here was that if at any point you do something that is amazing and it works out for you, come and get a TO.
Yeah.
And we'll and tell us the story of what just happened. And we'll take notes.
Yeah.
And similarly, if you try to do something amazing, but it fails spectacularly, like also come and get us and tell us the story and we'll take notes. And then at the end of the event, we'll give out an award for most epic moment and most tragic moment. And this is like sort of the analog to like, hey, we're having in a competitive event, we're having a rules dispute. You go get the TO to like adjudicate your rules dispute. Like instead of that in a narrative event, like go get a TO to tell us this cool story about how like this commissar charged into this bloodthirster trying to lead the charge and just got like completely curb stomped to the ground.
It was expected, but maybe we didn't think, we thought it might go better than that.
So I think there's like clever things you can do like that to incentivize gamers, non-derogatory, to like sort of do the right thing from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's one way we came up with to do that. I'm sure there's like a bunch of other ways that you guys might think of to do that. We'd love to hear about them. Leave a note in the comments if you have a cool narrative idea that you've had for running an event or something like that. Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
I mean, Chicken gives it a great example of like powering up. Like saving an ammo dump in a game gives you rapid fire one, maybe on one squad. Yeah, it's not. Cool. Is it going to break the game? No, but it's nice to feel like you're being rewarded.
Love it.
The line getting stomped by a Gretchen. Hey, that's lore.
Oh man,
that's lore. It was a strong Gretchen though.
Yeah, what's the luckiest grot that like
Makari.
Makari
kills
Makari.
The lion.
Yeah.
Now that's
he trips. Makari trips, and like as he trips, a pebble kicks out, and it goes right into his eye slit, and it gets lodged, and it has some like Tyranid spore on it, and it takes over his.
Yeah, and it causes him to overcharge his plasma, which blows his head off. All right. So yeah, we're just about done. We've got 2 minutes. Let's do a quick overview. Again, we gotta do 3 things real quick. We're gonna do a quick overview. We're gonna re-talk about this objective control. And yeah, so again, if you want to say anything last minute, make sure you guys are liking the stream. If you guys want to let us know anything, tell us we're dumb. If you guys have any good ideas, you can super chat it. You don't have to, but we'd appreciate it. That's how we make sure the channel stays alive. And let's do a quick overview.
Yeah. I'm super curious how you guys have, what your narrative event experience has been.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think narrative event organizers, and there's not a lot of us, but we're sort of trying to figure it out. And so, depending on which of these events you go to, LVO, Nova, Maelstrom Mixer, or the Grand Narrative, they'll all be different. And so it's interesting to see how different people around the country are trying to figure out narrative play. I'll be at the Grand Narrative in November, which I'm very excited for. In the process now of figuring out a list. We just got the data slate, and so everything points has changed, and so my list is now like I have no idea. I've got all these extra points to play with because Tao got a lot of points reductions.
It's all new fun list. Now you can't no pirate game.
That's right. No.
Just a quick thing, because this is kind of what we're going to talk about. Young Bo says, is there any out of the box campaigns that are available? Well, that's kind of what I don't think so. That's kind of what we're talking about. Just to hit our overview, is that match play is what gets all the attention.
Yeah.
Right? Narrative play is not what gets the attention from GW, unfortunately. And that's unfortunate, and that's why matched play is kind of the default.
There are some in White Dwarf.
Yes.
And the old Imperial Armor books, Forge World Imperial Armor books, used to... Basically, these were historical campaigns. So they would describe a story of some event that happened in history and then give you rules to play out the series of games. But again, it felt a little weird because the story kind of was already told, and you were just kind of playing out these games that you sort of already had read the story of what the outcome was. I think the closest thing maybe is the White Dwarf
Yeah.
missions. But I think this is a product that is lacking from the community
Yeah.
currently. And it's something I've toyed with the idea of developing actually.
Yeah.
Is like, a PDF download that you could purchase for $5. And it was a series of mission briefs for 2 or 3 people to play through a narrative event on a weekend. Similar to like a D&D one shot or
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that.
And that's the kind of stuff that narrative needs, honestly.
But as far as I know, Youngbo, it doesn't exist yet. Hopefully, I'd love to see something like that because it'd be super cool.
Yeah.
It'd be rad.
Events, we talked about how there's kind of no standardization, but we would just like to see more of it, right? It's like we don't see narrative events in the same way we see GTs or RTTs.
And narrative events, the ones that do exist, are very often part of a larger event like LVO or Nova. It'd be cool to see more sort of standalone narrative events that just exist to be cool narrative events on their own.
Yeah.
Stand on their own legs.
Crusade and its faults, we talked about this. It's a lot of homework. Youngbo did mention that, there are apps and resources out there.
Yep.
Which are good and helpful, but like out of the box, if you're someone brand new and you come because you're looking for, a narrative experience, it's GW hasn't really made it a very welcoming. Crusade is not the way to get into narrative play.
It's not the way to get
not to start at least. We don't think.
Yeah. That's not to say they won't figure it out eventually.
Yeah, and that's not fun. It is fun, but it has flaws.
And yep.
And then tips for running event we talked about. We're not going to run through all those, but if you want to go back, you can read all those.
Yeah, we gave you a lot of things to think about for running your own narrative events, and we would encourage you to give it a try.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about narrative play is it's real low. You can just it can be as simple as turning up to your game store with a friend and spending 10 minutes before the game being like, hey, I really want to bring this new Land Raider. It's like kind of an assault vehicle. I'm meant to like assault a fortification. Can you bring sort of a more defensive army? And then we'll set up the terrain with like some walls, and I can be like an attacker and you can be a defender. Like, how do you feel about that? And then they can get really excited about it, and then you can play a narrative game. And that's like narrative play basically.
Yeah.
Maybe even instead of like match play has these cards that you pick your objectives to. Maybe you like enforce certain objectives. It's another very simple way to have the objectives tie into the story. Is like, all right, I have to take these objective cards for my mission because that's like I'm trying to do this attack thing, and you have to take these ones because you're playing this defender. Like that can be a great way to do it.
Yeah, weirdly enough, we should have another narrative stream because that's actually something that they do in Kill Team. Is you have specific decks with objectives.
Right.
Now you don't get you kind of choose them, but you still draw them. So that's something. Maybe If you guys don't have Brett on, let me know. It doesn't matter because I'm gonna have him on again anyway. But let me know anyway. I still like to hear it.
We'll talk some more narrative.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're just about done. We're a little over time. Last thing I want to hit is Chris likes to paint. Objective Controller's Kickstarter is up. It is funded, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and pitch him a couple bucks.
Check out the Kickstarter. It's a cool product. We think it's neat. And like I said, there's no risk in backing because it's already funded.
It's already funded. And great for objective play because we talked about themed boards. Well, your themed board isn't getting ruined by NASCAR-style ads.
By advertisements all over your playmat. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to end it. We hope you guys had a good show.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, and have a good lunch, everyone. Bye.
See you next time.
Where's the end button? There we go.